It's been a bad string of days for the Boston Police Department and the people they serve. For one, there was the Boston Globe's reporting over the weekend about an off-duty officer with a long history of misconduct who crashed his cruiser into the car of a disabled grandmother back in July of 2019, knocking her out and totaling her car. A year and a half later, the city hasn't given her a dime for the accident, and neither the officer nor the city have apologized, even though the initial investigation showed the officer to be at fault. As for that grandmother, she now has to go to a food pantry, having had to use what remained of her own money to buy another used car. And then, of course, there's the story getting national headlines. After clips of Boston police body camera footage were published, appearing to show them using excessive force during protests this past spring.
Stop spraying the
spraying more. You out? Are you out? Yeah. And I got a little left. I want to hit this I lose two of these already. I got a little left. I want to hit this kid.
The clips were first published on Friday by online news outlet The Appeal and comes against the backdrop of a debate over a long-awaited police reform bill on Beacon Hill. GBH News has also since been given access to the nearly 70 hours of body camera footage recorded from May 31st to early June 1st and obtained by an attorney representing some of the protesters arrested that night. It shows officers shoving protesters, using tear gas and pepper spray, including on some with their hands raised in the air.
Then I had to keep coming. I'm hitting people with the car. Did you hear me? I was like, get the
This is on. This thing is...
Oh, no, I know. What I'm saying is, though, they were in front, they didn't hit anybody, just driving.
Suffolk County DA Rachel Rollins, whose office is in conducting one of the investigations into the case, called the videos, quote, incredibly troubling. Boston Police Commissioner Willie Gross put out a statement Friday saying, in part, as soon as these videos were brought to my attention, I immediately ordered my Bureau of Professional Standards to open and conduct a thorough and fair investigation. I've placed the sergeant involved in this incident on administrative leave, and I will take any additional action as is necessary at the conclusion of the investigation. The attorney who first got these tapes, Carl Williams, joins me now. He's a civil rights lawyer, adjunct professor of law at Cornell University. Carl, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What expectation did you have about the videos? What did you expect to find? What were you hoping to find before you got them?
I actually, just to clarify the record a bit, I was sent these. I hadn't requested them. I have a number of criminal cases, and I was sent them by an assistant district attorney as required by law, but I hadn't particularly requested them. So I got an email. I was surprised by it. And I downloaded them and said, I remember when I clicked on the download, it said, this will take like 17 hours. And I said, maybe my connection. I looked at my connection. I said, something's wrong with my computer. And I realized that it was a massive trove of video files from the entire protest.
And I know you put together a team of volunteer lawyers, students, et cetera, to look at all of it. What was your reaction when you saw some of the things, including what I just showed?
Right. So I'll say I was there that night. I was there that day and that night for the entire, I think I was out for about 12 hours with a team of lawyers from the National Lawyers Guild and students also the night of the protest. So much of the things that are seen in the video, I had seen similar actions. I had seen similar things happening in the street. The thing that really stuck out to me is the casual conversation between officers, sergeants, other Boston Police Department officers, and that very cavalier attitude of admitting to crimes, right? Admitting to multiple crimes, seemingly. That's what it seems like is being said on the footage.
What crimes do you think were committed, Carl?
I think hitting, it sounds like saying I was driving through people, hitting them with my car. Sounds like assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. I mean, it's hard to get around that's what that sounds like.
Were the pepper spray incidents crimes? Many of them, at least a couple that I saw, were with one person with the hands raised in the air, another an older woman just standing there. Are those criminal behavior by the police?
Sometimes it's hard to comment on them generally, but if someone is spraying someone and there's no reason to use chemical weapons against that person, which it's hard to imagine that a person walking backwards with their hands up, there's a reason to use something that can be be very harming to a person. It is certainly extremely painful. It seems like that is not within the Boston Police Department's use of force rules, so it's against the rules. It also seems like it could be a crime.
You were there that night, as you said.
Assault, battery with a dangerous weapon.
Credible reporters have said as the night drew on, there was some violence by some protesters. Did any of the video that you've seen suggest that any of the protesters, any of the behavior by the police in response to the protesters might have been merited?
I think, we could talk about the police presence. So some action by the police seems like that they were present there, that they were deployed, that they were having people leave certain areas where windows and stores were broken. That seems, justifiable by the police rules, right? And by the laws of the state of Massachusetts. Hitting people with clubs, using pepper spray, using tear gas, using vehicles as weapons. I don't see, it's hard to see any, and certainly I'll say there were people there who appeared to be throwing like plastic bottles at sometimes and other things like that. The things that we see in this video where people are running up and saying, and targeting and saying, get that person right there and get them and pepper spray that person. I can't see any reason that, except being vindictive, except like I'm annoyed at that person and I want to cause them harm. Someone could explain another reason for that, but I can't even imagine one. If I had that as a criminal case, I'd be like, this looks bad.
Were any complaints filed against the police as a result of any of these behaviors?
On that night, none that I know of. I can just say personally, I was pepper sprayed 1 week before this while I was standing on a sidewalk, and I certainly filed a complaint about that.
I'm sure you've seen this, but Saturday there was a statement released by the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association by their president. I want to read it for you. On a night where 30 police officers went to the hospital, hundreds more were treated for trauma and injuries sustained after being pelted with seemingly endless stream of rocks, bottles, batteries, bricks, bleach, urine, kerosene. We have a defense attorney who, after stitching together several contextually deficient video snippets, wants you to believe the real enemy in the city that night was the men and women of the BPD. The reality-altering effort and insult aside, the fact remains the violence and hatred perpetrated against our officers in our city that night will forever be ingrained in the minds and memories of our officers and their families because of the damage done by the cop-hating anarchists and agitators who showed up to a peaceful protest armed for violence and looking for a fight. What's your response?
His English teacher should have told him about run-on sentences first. But second, there's a lot of adjectives in there. And this is at least part ad hominem. It's like I'm somehow, like I'm a bad person, which I'm not going to defend myself against that. People came out. I don't know of any instance or any allegation, right? If you throw bleach on someone, the criminal defense attorney in me says, it would be hard not to leave evidence. When I do laundry, I use bleach and like it destroys my clothes because I'm clumsy. If someone threw bleach on a police officer, it would leave a literal trail of evidence. I can't say that didn't happen. I can say if it happened, it seems like there would be evidence of it. If police had kerosene thrown on them, it seems like there would be evidence of that. So I've never seen any evidence of that. And I'm not aware of any criminal cases involving in that. And it seems like those would have arose to criminal cases. Were there people, as I said, throwing plastic water bottles at times? Yes. Sometimes was that in response to being attacked by police with weapons? Certainly. I certainly saw that happening. And were stores broken into? Certainly happened. And did police, is there evidence suggesting that police took looted property and gave it to other police officers? There is certainly video evidence of that.
Do you have faith in the investigations? My understanding is one internal at the police department itself and one conducted by the Suffolk County DA. Do you have faith in them?
I would hope that it would find something. Seeing the statistics on police internal investigations, just mathematically, that does not give me hope. I know District Attorney Rollins, and I trust and am hopeful that first the minor criminal charges against many of the protesters who are still criminally charged will be dismissed. I'm hopeful that will happen, and I'm hopeful that she will investigate the behavior of the Boston Police Department and even other police departments, Northeastern police departments. In some of the clips that you showed, it's ironic that Northeastern students investigated some of this, and it was police officers from Northeastern that seemed to be involved in some of this behavior, including Boston Police.
Maybe that's a little bit of justice. What should the takeaway be for a member of the public who interacts with, depends upon Boston police virtually every single day in the city, Carl?
I think one thing is we should be aware that what our governments do, our city governments, our state governments, our federal government do, are public record, right? So there's been some allegation that I somehow leaked these documents. These are public. These should be publicly available. And Commissioner Gross should all the body camera footage, unless there's some reason specifically to make it not footage, should make it public.
They say there's an ongoing investigation. That's their excuse for not releasing them, for whatever that's worth.
It doesn't make any sense because they did release them, right? So they released them in one instance, and then they refused to release them to other people. So that's either incompetence. I don't know I don't really actually know how to characterize it, because they certainly did. That's how I have them. The police gave it to the district attorneys. The district attorneys give it to me. So
what should the takeaway be for the average person in Boston?
I think people should be vigilant. People should believe that they can file complaints. People should feel that they can contact attorneys. They can contact folks in the National Lawyers Guild. People can contact me. And we can stand up for justice where many tens of thousands of young, black, brown people and allies stood up for justice against police violence that night. And tragically ironically, we're faced by police violence. But that struggle, right, led to what is happening today, led to this discussion. And that struggle for liberation for black folks and against police brutality in this country has been going on for a long time, and it's slow, but we're winning.
Carl Williams, thanks so much for your work and your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.